Boom. Okay. We are good. And now, Coach, you are back on.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Mark. Matt, does that answer your question, what I was saying, or do you have any
Yeah,
more?
no, it does answer it because I know because we run a little bit of power read. The only thing that we do
Yep.
is we read the front side in,
Yep.
and I just want to see because we kind of teach it the same way with that under blitz. So we have our guard looking at that backside platform for that under blitz,
Yep.
and then the play side tackles looking for the scrape over. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we've been looking at some power read too to maybe send a tight end, maybe at a pesky safety or something.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you guys have more flexibility on however you might run it. But yeah, we've been talking about dabbling in it a little more. But our opponent runs a lot of it. It's good stuff. Sometimes it's a good alternative to zone read because there's more angles, and sometimes base blocks can get a little hairy in high school football. So it's an alternative. Okay, let's do a power to the left now. Even front, goes in motion. So it's nice having that guy out there split out because you can then throw him a bubble or you want to throw a quick screen out there. So it keeps your defense a little more honest. Plus, some defenses, they like to rotate safeties maybe or go with the motion. You'd be surprised how the defense gets hypnotized by the motion. So, I mean, so here I said this kid was making a play a lot, the run through. Told our guard, I was like, look, dude, just go. I was like, because I watched that on a huddle sideline. I said, just go to him. So everybody's just getting a hat on a hat, and we're playing football. So it's nice. Our quarterback could have done a better job carrying out his fake right there. All right, so let's take a look at the odd front. I got stacked defense up here. Concepts similar, whether it's a stack or it's a 3-4. Again, we're using numbers. We might say nose or 0. Doesn't matter. Say nose or strong 1. Uncovered, 4-eye, 9. Tackle, he's taking charge. Play side, he's yelling 49, 49. You yell 59. 49 means there's a combo coming between the tight end or the H, whatever you want to call them, and they're going to work to the mic. If it's a 3-4, I got some people. I'm letting 2 more people in. If it's a 3-4, we're working to the will. But if it's a stack, we're working to the mic. But I have a progression now for the center to guard because you notice that we have 2 combos going to the mic here. So here's a progression you could do for stack defenses. First, get hip to hip, spy the mic. If he immediately blitzes, that's it. But if there's no immediate blitz, let the tackle and tight end take care of that combo. And then these 2 can work to the will. All right, so again, hip to hip, spy the mic. Mike does not blitz. He scrapes over top and work to the will. Over here. Attack B gap, pulling, and here's our 49 call here. So it works really good against that. And, I guess the odd front, we call them bandits. Stack teams, we call them bandits. I mean, DN, whatever. Whatever that hybrid type of guy is. Whatever you want to call him. Just, we're gonna kick him out with our F. And we're going to send, again, we're split out. We're in the gun. So we're off to the races. Any questions on how to block the odd front? The odd front. Okay. Odd front's pretty much a lot simpler. So we got 2 combos now going on. And these are all hard combos, if you will. So here's it against the stack. So look at the tight copy. So we did a little check with me. So we're in 2 back here. We're in 2 back. We're no motion. One guy was a little late getting down. Our quarterback should have waited. We got away with a penalty. So we're going power right. Power right. 2 combos to the mic. He blitzed. We didn't really get a clean combo, but we at least got a piece of him.
Boom.
There you go.
Back to the inside, yeah.
Yep. So.
Were you guys running that out of double tight right there?
Yeah. We like to run it out double tight because I'm going to show you guys in a couple clips, inverted power or H counter, whatever you want to call it, whatever. Inverted power.
That double tight forces that defense to balance up and kind of gives you a little bit more of an advantage against that odd then.
Yeah, against the odd, we like double tight more. Against like 4-2 teams, we usually like single tight. 4-4, like zone teams, we like RPO and single tight. More against odd front teams, we like double tight. Against a stack, we must always want double tight because the stack is meant to more stop the throw. So we want to run the ball then.
Hey, Coach, what's your? Go ahead, Mark. My bad.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say, Coach Dickens was wondering what's your running back's aiming point on power. I think Matt was about to ask that same thing.
His aiming point on power?
Yeah.
Okay. He's going to do sweep motion from here. Okay, he's a little deep right here. Heels to toes, sweep motion throw, and he's going to aim for the outside leg of the tackle.
Cool.
Yep. Ball up,
Anything
handle
else, Coach?
He's,
Need anything else, Coach Dickens? That good?
good. All right,
Yeah.
Coach.
Sounds good.
I like 2 feet splits, 3 feet for the tight ends, but my guys never listen. They just compact all the friggin' time. I don't know what it is. They like to cut their splits down. I always have to yell at them. I like to do 2 feet splits, but if you're going against a team that likes to slant a lot, blitz a lot, maybe cut them down. Cut their splits down. Like, who cares, right? They want to blitz, they want to slant. Tell your guys, cut them down, and it should be all right. Usually that's what we do with the splits. So when I get to the inverted power, or some guys call it H counter, you're going to see that we're going to run power out the back door. We're just swapping it, but I'll get to that later, and we could run it with the quarterback. QB power. All right, so you guys saw that one. There's another one against, I believe this is a 3-4. 3-4 is nice because now we have numbers on them. So we're going power left here. We got the 49 call. Working to the will. We got center guard working to the will. He's pulling, and he's protecting B gap. We're going in motion. We want to snap the ball at the outside leg of the tackle. The fullback is behind the guard. He's about a yard and he's like right stacked behind the guard. He's shading the outside leg a little bit, and he's going to take the path there. So there's the combo. And there's the hole. Go ahead. Play football. Our philosophy of our program for winning, one of the foundations is play great defense, play great special teams, and ball security. And one way to have ball security, is to control the clock and make sure they're not getting it. Keep that good quarterback who's going to Notre Dame off the field, right? That's sometimes our best defense. My defensive coordinator, he'll yell at me. He'll go, "Why are you effing throwing the ball?" And I was like, I can't run over everybody. All right, so here's power. To the left, going this way again. We're comboing to the will. 49 call, and it could be a 59 call too. That works. It could be a 59. So either one, outside shade. So we're working there. So these guys are cutting us now because we're beating the hell out of them. So now they're cutting us. And that's life. You got to get up and keep playing ball. You want offensive pursuit, you should have all your linemen going down there pushing the pile. Here what the flag was on there. There's a stack. Back to the stack. Another game. Got some more people coming in here. Let me throw them in here. See that kind of Mike scrapes over top. My guard shouldn't be going after him unless it's immediate blitz. So my guard thought that was an immediate blitz right there. He thought it was. That's why he went for him. Remember the progression. You work to the Mike first. Get a little messy. And here's one more left. It's nice against odd fronts. I mean, it works against even fronts too. You want to go against odd front teams, double tight's nice. You get the symmetry. There's a 49 call, power left. Working to the mic, kicking out. Tailback's just making plays right there, too. He's running the ball.
Coach, you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever had to run that against a double eagle front?
Yeah. Yeah.
How would you go? Because in Idaho, we have there's about 3 teams that we play in our conference that run kind of the head up nose and 2-4 eyes. And they're they'll walk up to like a YOLO front. They'll walk up the 2 outside backers. But with a 4 eye, how would you guys double that? Would you put
you mean a nose and 2-3 techs? You mean? Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I don't have a nose and 2-3 techs up here. But what I'll do is we'll make a call where the pulling guard, backside guard, if he's covered, he's going to say like 3 or 2, right? Because we're always saying numbers. And I'll say covered. Our center makes the call because once our guard says he's covered, backside guard, and he has a nose guard, that's going to trip off a call. And you have the kids make up the call if you want, right? And that means now the center is going to block back on that 3 tech. And the play side guard is going to be by himself now on the center. See what I mean?
You're almost like you're blocking it up like an even front almost.
Yeah. And the backside tackle, he'll post that 3 tech to help your center because it's always tough sometimes blocking back with a center on a 3 tech. The backside tackle will post with his hand and then hinge for that DN on the backside. And then your tackle will single block the play side 3 tech. So it's kind of like they're all blocking, they're all kind of sliding. It's like they're all going to left them. It's almost like a slide call. So center's back to the 3 tech, play side guard would go to that, to the nose, and then play side tackles on that. There is no combo to the will now, though. Keep that in mind. So maybe you might want to, are you a no huddle team coach? Yes, no. Maybe you want to check to like an outside zone or a toss or something or a jet. That's what we would do. We would probably go to a.
Was that Coach Bacon? I think he muted himself. So you're the host, Coach. So you might want to unmute him.
Sorry.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, no. So we'd get double eagle and then we'd get like a YOLO front. So we'd get 2 4 eyes and a head up nose. So they would bounce in and out of that. So with us, it kind of took away of like wanting to run power because it'd be like, okay, well, we don't have the double team because we got to send either guard down with the center and the tackle's by himself. And a lot of the time, you on a tackle versus a good D end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's a backside 4 eye, you're good. Just backside tackle, cut them. I don't know what your cut rules are in your state, but on our state, unlike college where you can cut block anywhere, we have to cut off the snap, tackle to tackle. Like as soon as the ball snaps, you got to throw your cut.
Yep.
So you could tell your backside tackle, cut the 4 eye, cut him.
Gotcha.
And that'll slow him up. But if he's in a 3, don't do it because then you're going to get a chop block.
Yeah. And then so on the play side with your double team, like your guards pulling to the left and your left tackle, how would you
Okay, so we're going power left.
Power left, yeah.
And there's a 3 tech, a nose, and a 3 tech.
Yep. Would you just go down?
Your center. So have your so the pulling guard is covered. He's like, I got a 3 here. Nose, there's a nose. Center knows that. He's going to make a call. He's going to go block the 3 tech. Play side guard's going to block the center by himself. Or the nose. That's going to block the nose by himself.
And tackles down.
The 3 tech to his side.
Yep.
So cool. 3 single blocks, but now you don't have a combo to the well. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe that's giving trouble, jet sweep or something outside.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, so now I want to get into one back power. Okay, so this is an H power, tight end power for us, where now we're going to look more at this is where we would RPO. We don't like the RPO man teams. We only like the RPO zone teams because we like to just do bubbles and stick routes and, you know, to keep things real simple out there. So, you know, ball security is important. So sometimes, I mean, if it's loose man, you can maybe you can get away with the bubbles and stuff. But if it's like a tight, true, like press man, it's tough to run RPOs against that. But on this one, again, we're a very defensive end oriented team. So now who's got the DN? Well, on this call, it's the tight end. Tight end has the DN by himself. Now, I want to caution you, you need a sturdy tight end or an H-back, a guy that can hold his water. If you can't do it, then you got to look at doing inverted power or something else. All right, so you got to have that's key. You got to have a strong dude. I'm also a strength coach in our staff, so you know we lift weights 5 days a week, except for now because we just got shut down again for 3 weeks. But you know we lift weights all year round. As soon as the season's over, 5 days a week. So usually we have strong tight ends. You know if they're not playing basketball, you know, or wrestling, and then once they're done basketball or wrestling, they come. All right, so now who's the tight end has the DN. The one back is now getting the ball. It's the same rules. We're going to combo to the mic. It's a hard combo. Same rules. Combo to the mic or the will. If it's a 4-2, 4-3, combo to the mic. Center blocks back, pulling to the Sam backer. And we're protecting B gap and hinging, protect the C gap and hinging. If there is no tight end, then there isn't. You could run maybe a glance route back wherever you want to do with them, maybe a hitch, you know, take advantage of whatever you want back there. But we're gonna read the apex player, and we'll run maybe a bubble. So we'll block the corner and we'll read the apex. If we can, we you know we'll keep the rules simple. If we don't think the guy can make the play, we'll throw the bubble in our power RPO. If you want to cheat, you know, if you want to get, you don't want to teach guys more stuff. Like, you know what, coach, I like power, but I don't have time to teach the tight end one as well, or I don't trust my tight end. There are other options. You could just run a QB one. Just move your back up and call the same exact play and just have your QB do it. It's just up to you if you want to risk your quarterback or not. It's nice. Okay, so you can just do that too. You could do the same blocking I just showed you. Just move up your F and just have him do it. So that's up to you. So and he's going to be the read in the RPO. We're going to read the apex. If we run a 3-man RPO, we'll read what we call the deuce or the second man. So our 3-man RPOs will read here. Our 2-man RPOs will read the apex. That's our rules. Any questions on that?
I don't see anything, though.
Any questions on that one?
No.
No?
Looks good.
Right. Moving on. Either I'm doing a good job explaining or I don't know.
Does any because I know that not everybody's unmuted. The problem with that is we all know how Zoom goes. We have crazy things going on in our background. So if there's any coaches out there that have any questions, put it up in the chat and we will answer any of them. We'll go through them. You know, it's kind of what we wanted to do is like make it as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions on how it can relate to your offense, even just, you know, whatever. So
we put the H off ball here. You know, if you want to change it up a little bit, you know, maybe your guy might struggle to run block him or not from back there. But if you guys use more slots, you don't really use true tight ends as much. You know, so here he is. It's just a slot. So he's our H. So he's going to block the DN. Again, defensive end. Who's got the DN? Is it the fullback? No. Now it's the H's job. So he's going to get him. We got a 39 here, 37, same concept. So we're going to work. These two are going to work to the will. He's going to block back. He's going to pull, protecting B gap back there. Check with me. Yeah, we like it. All right. A nice bubble there. Oh, they're trying to cut us again. He's just got to make tailback makes a hell of a play here. He's running hard, everybody grinding, touchdown. So that was in double overtime. It was 2 years ago. Run it again. Tight H-back has the DN. Combo to the will. Locking back. If you have a tight end, you can pull or you can have your backside tackle climb. If you don't have a tight end, don't make him climb. Because then the DN will maybe make the play backside. If you have a tight end, you can make him climb. So you can see we had 2 guys on 1. And our tackle kind of just played them off. Good chemistry. Here it is again against an even front. H-power left. Solid block him. Working to the will. Pulling to the Sam. See how our back read that? See how he read the log? Kind of read, our guard too. He's going to read our tight end's block here. You can do a log drill. Basically, just take your guards and, and just have them read it. Yes, Coach. Yeah, we do both. Coach Dickens, you want to unmute or you just want to talk to him? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in the garage. You got a video of that, Coach?
I don't have them set up that way, but I'm sure we'll run into one. This is the only difference, Coach. If we want the back to be to run the ball there, we'll just have them in the backfield, a yard apart or a yard over, toes to his heels. If we want to come from the opposite side, we'll put his heels at his toes. So that's how the alignment is. So if he's on the left, his toes at his heels. So we don't have to change the back. We can run it to or away. Does that help? But I'm sure you'll see someone here eventually. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, you can do it either way. Just make sure he's deeper to the call, away from it. Make sure he's heels or even, toes are even there. Okay. Hopefully that helps. And he reads the log, so your guard can read that block, and he bounces it outside. Your one back, your F, whatever you call him. Hey man, it's just got to be a tough kid that's not willing to hit people and can run hard. That's what he's. If he's like a traditional meathead fullback, it's kind of tough because then he can't run the ball as well. So you kind of want to have a guy who can move and it's just tough and kick out. Here it is against the even front. Running right. This was risky here. That's why we did like the fake check with me. See, they're on a knee because they weren't ready. We did the fake check with me to get an advantage because we didn't have a block for that apex guy, but he didn't make the play. He wasn't ready. Same thing. Touchdown. Here's another one to the left. Y copy. If you can run it instead of a draw if you want. We saw they were overloaded to our right, so we checked it left. That's the nice thing about no huddle. You just say, hey, there's too many dudes on the right. Let's go left. And we do. Run through, we got the run through properly. Good. Or this one. You can we also do like a counter play, like we'll fake motion and then we'll run power out the H power out the back door. So here we got motion. So we do X motion, we fake it, and then we come back with power to the opposite side. That's another advantage of being double tight. So you can run power either way. They don't know. So that's a nice little change up if you want. You can also do a shovel if you want to. Like some people are like, why you got your back up so tight? You can't give them the ball. Throw them a shovel. That's fine. Here is inverted power. So so it doesn't really matter where or H counter. I don't know. whatever you want to call it. Whatever you guys want to do. Either way. So this is the one back power. I'm sorry. Let me get to another one. There it is against the odd front. Excuse me. So the 49 call might not necessarily happen against that. Getting yacked up here. Here's going against the best team in our state, St. Joe's Prep. They whooped us 2 years ago. But, we had some success sometimes. We didn't really have a lot. St. Joe's Prep is a pretty good team. Very good program. So here it is against the odd front. H is by himself. Tackle's now by himself. There's no 49 call because you don't have it. He's by himself. We're comboing to the will. So you don't have your 49 call when you're running that. But if you wanted to, then just have your quarterback run it. Towards the end of the game. Any questions against the odd front? It's pretty simple. Now? All right, we go to move along. We're on time. Here's against the log block. Here's the inverted power. Here he is, coach. He's on the same side for you. See, he's deeper. Now we're going to switch responsibilities. So again, who has DN? Now the backside guard has a DN. So we have a call. We have a new call for that. Now guard has DN. That's how it works. So everybody has DN. Is it a fullback? Is it the H? Is it the backside guard? G lead. It's the play side guard. So now the guard is going to kick out, and the F is going to read it. He read the log there, and he went outside. So that's inverted power. So now guard's doing is just swapping. There it is drawn up right there. Inverted power. Same rules. Working to the will, pulling, lineman. Here's an RPO to the H. Okay, use the bubble to the H. Read the apex. Got away with this one kind of, but you could do that one. You could do that power. I mean, it's in the power family, but we're gonna have the tackle solid block. The DN. It's kind of like inside zone, but we're folding a guy. I'll show you from the tight what I mean. So now we're gonna send the tackle after him. So now the tackle knows, okay, I have DN here. Again, DN rules. He's going to single block the DN. He's going to single block. He's going to block back. We're going to fold him to the backside backer so he doesn't go to the Sam. He's going to go to the backside backer, to the Mike or the Will. See how he folds there? Didn't really matter because the kid was out of the play, so it's just a bubble. You want to change it up. You can go fast on that one too. Here's another, here's just a regular bubble to the number 2 guy. And you can send if you want, I mean, you could send your tight end on a seam route. That one. Ooh, that one fast. So bubble number 3. So we just run sticks and bubbles and maybe a go route. Nothing crazy. Because again, we like to attack zone teams, and we like to attack loose man teams. You can run a slant too if you want, but it's up whatever floats your boat. Here's a stick route 1. Number 3 is going to run a stick.
Hey, coach, your offensive lineman always coming out of a 2-point?
Yeah. Except for we have a heavy package, we tell them go automatically in a 3. So when like we call it sledgehammer. That's our heavy pro, double tight, no receivers, 2 backs, and then we run no pull power. We have the whole line block left, and then we call them our Viper back kicks out the DN, and now the puller is the other full back. So we'll be 3 backs, double tight 3 backs. And that's how we run. So we're running power again, but we're just not pulling anybody. We don't always like pulling people on the 1 because, you pull, there's like a gap and all that. So it's a way to run power, sneaky way. Yeah, we're running 2-point all the time. So this way we can go fast because, you obviously, if you put your hand down, then you can't come up.
Well, and it's difficult to see a blitz too.
Mm-hmm. Some of our guys on staff hated it at first, but you just got to practice it a lot. And you get pretty good at staying low. But we still practice our 3-point for, QB sneaks and goal line packages. Here's a stick route, streak, bubble, stick, streak, bubble, stick, or fizz. We run a fizz, like the slow bubble. We have better completion rate that way. I mean, some guys like it, some guys don't. I mean, that's an option. So tackle should be getting the DN here. And very power-oriented. He's folding. We're reading the deuce. We're going to read this guy here. So, not the apex. We're going to read him. There's no way he's making that play out on a stick route. And see how he bit? See how he bit with the motion or with the power action? There he is, play side. There, coach.
Yeah, it's clean.
Streak. Bubble streak. I mean, you can do what kind of combos you like. Here's the tight end running one. It was a give though. We thought he could cover he was on the tight end, so we just gave it. Okay, that guy's there. Give it out. Screw it. When in doubt, give it out, right, fellas? Another RPO. Just a bubble number 3. And we're running that H power this way. So you can run it every way. Now, I want to caution you, if you run power to the opposite side, you have to tell your tackle to attack and not hinge. Because if he hinges, then they'll bat the ball down. So you got to teach him that. And if it blitzes, that's okay. He's the read. You're getting rid of it. Fire it out there. So if you run power away from your RPO, he has to attack. But that's just one important pointer. Could have got a little more push there, but at least he didn't hinge. Let's go to the end. There's a streak to number 3. Here you go. He hit the streak. So you want to change it up, you can. All right. Zoom. I'm trying to go slow-mo so it doesn't get like skippy. So there's just a streak. He lost his mind. Ran a slant. What are you gonna do? Guys lose their minds. That's why you keep it simple. You got all this room out here. Just base blocking. And then we're running power to the right, H power. Okay, so Coach, I'm going to make you the host, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead and do that.
Any final questions, Mark? Anybody?
Anybody, guys? Anybody got any questions? If you want, Coach, go ahead and unmute everybody, and then see if anybody has any questions. Go ahead and ask, guys.
You got the power now, Mark.
I got the power. Boom.
Gave it to you, buddy.
Let's see. Anybody have any questions? Go ahead and type them in. Coach, do you run everything? Oh, yeah. Do you run everything with O-line in a 2-point stance? Yeah, Matt asked that. Go ahead.
Yeah, except for our heavy package, we automatically get down to a 3-point or a 4-point if a kid wants to. But yeah, we're always in a 2 because we want to go fast. We wanted to check with me. You know, we can't. We tried it. It didn't work out right. I mean, you could, but we like to go fast and 2-point. All right.
Right. What drills? Because you said like at first the coaches were having a hard time buying into it.
Yeah.
What drills would you like? Would you really do something to get that?
So the best thing to do are the shoots. The best thing are the shoots. You know, just like cattle shoots. We have like the tarp kind. We got it like 6 years ago. It's like a really big one. You know, it's got like a mesh top. And you just, you know, you put it low and you get into 2-point. And you tell your kids, all right, weight distribution. You want to step with your left foot, put weight on your right foot. Okay. And shoulder width, comfortable. Make a fist, cup your hand, eyes up, and just give them a bird dog it like boom 1. I don't know, do your step drill. 1 foot, then go 2. Fire out with the hands. And then usually they're good. After that, and make sure they're balanced, their butt's down, their chest is up. So that's how we do it out of that.
Okay, cool. Couple other questions. Coach, are you big on O-line communication? That's Coach Wardlaw.
Yeah, we never shut up. We're always talking. Sometimes, like, here's something silly, and I know it's no joke, MRSA, for example, but there was like a really crazy blitz that this one team did. I was like, what do you want to call this, guys? And the one guy's like, it's horrible, like MRSA. So I was like, all right, it was the MRSA call. So I'm real big on like having kids pick stuff. They say
they can buy into it, right? They
say some weirdo stuff. I mean, they're kids,
Right.
But yeah, a guy will say, "Yo, watch run through. You watch the Sam blitz," and we'll use our defensive blitz terms. We'll say, "Yeah, watch Sam, watch stab." Sam B, stab. Sam A, Sam. Web, the will and the B gap. Wham, watch the wham. Like we just, we'll use that. Smoke. Smoke means outside blitzes. So we'll just say, watch smoke, watch smoke. That's for pass pro. Pass pro, we use ISO blocking. That would be a different presentation I'd have to show you.
Okay.
We use ISO.
Well, the plan's to have a bunch of these, so.
We communicate. We always say the number system. And then if we have any specialty calls, we'll do that, Coach.
You saw that last question. What do you do for your number system for no huddle?
All right. Now, when you say number system, are you talking like counting guys in the box, like inside zone, like read stuff, or you mean just we're saying where to go?
Let me bring Coach in and he can go ahead and ask you himself. Coach John? There.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
Hey John.
Yeah, no, just sort of. Yeah, what do you guys like? What do you guys use for your number system? Like for the box or what?
So
are you talking your O line or are you talking your quarterback too?
Our quarterback doesn't make any calls like that. We have our center do it. We on his plate reading coverages, so we divvy it up. We're not like collegiate when it comes to that. This kid this year will probably do a little more because he's a 3-year starter, but that's rare in our program. We usually don't get too many 3-year quarterbacks. We usually produce like linemen and scuds, that's usually what we get. It's a roll of the dice to get that. But it's our center. He's doing a lot of the calls on passes or play side guard. It's a different blocking system because I'm sticking to power. We say what's in front of you. For power, our play side tackle is the most important guy. He sees a 3 and a 7. He says 37. That means it's a soft combo. 37 in their mind or 27 means they're soft combo. Okay. 9 tack, 39, 49, 59. That's the numbers we use. We're just using it based on alignment. So as a head up on the center, John, that we call that a 0. Or a strong 1, and then we go 2-eye, head up is a 2, 3 tack is outside the guard, 4-eye is inside the tackle, 4 head up, 5 is outside shade. Tight end's a rule breaker, 7 is inside, 9's outside.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris.
Cool. And we just add a 0 for backers. We'll say 30 backers.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? No? We good? Thanks, Coach. That was awesome, man.
Yeah. Hope you guys got something out of it.
Cool. All right. Next up, we have Coach Troy Bacon. Let me find you, Coach. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, sir. Going to give about 2 minutes real quick. If you guys want to run and use the restroom, do anything, grab some water. Coach Bacon, I'm going to go ahead and give you control as the host, and then go ahead and introduce yourself. And
all right.
Let me
pull this.
Yep. Go ahead. It's all you, Coach.
All right. First and foremost, Coach D, that was awesome, man. Thank you for that. It was big time. Appreciate kind of sharing the power knowledge. That's something that we had to implement a lot this year. We didn't have a lot of the big bruiser O linemen, so we had to incorporate some of the fullbacks and stuff like that. So, all right, view, present it. All right, you guys all able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Coach.
Okay. All right, so, first and foremost, thank you, Mark, for hosting this. This is a big time, especially going through the COVID crisis and everything that we're going through. It's kind of it's been a big deal, man. A lot of people aren't getting a lot of football out there, and fortunate for myself and some of the West Coast people, we got some football in this year. So thank you for doing this.
Hey, no problem, man. I'm glad there was just so many guys that wanted to be a part of it. That's that. I mean, if there's no desire for it, then I'd be watching the Army-Navy game too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
it's a boring game. You don't want to watch it, man.
Yeah.
So other than that, coaches, hope you guys are doing well. My name is Coach Troy Bacon. A little background of information about myself. I'm 24 years old. I turn 25 this next month in January. I'm in my second year coaching at Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian, Idaho. We were fortunate enough to play this year. We ended up winning the 5A state championship game. We went 9-0 and had, sorry if you guys hear dogs. I got German Shepherds and labs in the background. While I am still young, kind of just some info about myself. I just wrapped up my playing career coming out of high school as a nationally ranked offensive lineman from Oak Hills, California, down in the southern section there. I finished as a top 10 offensive lineman on the West Coast and top 20 in the country. Was an Army All-American, made it to the Nike, the opening and that type of deal. Had offers from all over the country, and I decided to commit to Boise State, which in the one picture you can see that was against the Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl my freshman year. Committed to Peterson. He left a couple weeks before he went to Washington. So I stayed at Boise State. It fit what I wanted. Couple of years later, Fiesta Bowl win and then a Poinsettia Bowl win against Northern Illinois. Had a car accident, just some freak injuries came up. So I decided to step away from the game for a little bit. Ended up going back and playing football at Rocky Mountain College in Montana. It's a small NAIA school in Billings. Not a super big school by any means, but probably some of the best people I've ever met in my life. So went into Rocky Mountain and then played there, was an All-American, first team All-Conference both years, offensive lineman in the conference both years. Had a really good junior, senior year there, and ended up getting scouted by all 32 NFL teams. Had a team come and visit me in the spring and in the fall there. And then going into the draft, I had my draft bid was from the 5th to the 7th round to get drafted out of Rocky Mountain. Going through the NFL draft, it's kind of, it's kind of one of those things that there's a lot of what ifs of it's not a guarantee at all. So I ended up getting about 7 offers during the draft from the Panthers, the 49ers, Saints, Rams, Raiders, and the Vikings, and ultimately chose the New Orleans Saints just because they lost 3 linemen to free agency and I had pretty much the best shot to make that roster there. So went to the Saints, ended up getting contacted by my agent in the 49ers, and was traded to the San Francisco 49ers from the Saints. Went to camp with them and had a devastating hand injury. I had hand reconstructive surgery. All my tendons and ligaments on the left side of my hand pretty much ripped open and snapped. I had 2 compound fractures. So I had really major hand surgery, and was put on IR and was released later for medical release. So from that, kind of was just, not knowing what I was going to do. Was out of college at the time, didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I would be a good coach eventually. So I kind of reached out and had a couple coaches reach out to me. So the picture you see on the left there, I went back and coached at Rocky Mountain College as the O-line run game coordinator with Brandon Nickham. And when I was there, really got a taste of what college coaching was, what everything was about at that level, and, how serious it was. And going through the season, we had a decent season. We lost a lot of seniors from my class the previous year. So I think we finished middle of the pack in the Frontier Conference. And then going from there, I felt like I could make a bigger difference in kids' lives. I felt like I was selling myself short on giving back to the younger generation and helping kids out. So the picture on the right is with my kids from Rocky Mountain High School in Meridian, Idaho. I was from our state championship game in Rigby against Rigby, Idaho. So let's see. Okay, so again, just kind of what I'm going to talk about today. If you guys have any questions or anything, I can't see in the chat because I'm screen sharing at the moment. So if you guys have questions or anything like that, please go ahead and shoot them in the question bar, the chat box, and I'll answer anything you guys have. But really what I want to focus on today, being a younger coach, it seems like we're seeing more and more younger coaches, younger head coaches and stuff like that throughout the whole country, in college and the NFL. So the success that I've had so far in coaching really translates from what I went through as a player. So kind of just some stuff that I was going to share with you guys is what I've noticed with offensive line development and stuff like that. So really the last couple 5 to 7, 8 years, the offensive line development has really just boomed throughout the entire country. Before that, there was no O-line performance. There was no Charles Bentley. There was no, guys really speaking out on teaching how, an O-lineman, how important their stance is and stuff like that. So with my history, I found out kind of everything started in 2012 when I went to the football university. I learned under Bob Wiley. He was the Cleveland Browns, the HBO special, the Sahat guy that you saw. So I learned from him in 2012 at the football university camp. And that was kind of my first taste of like, okay, there's so much more to learn as an offensive lineman. And then it rolled into back then in 2012, it was the night football Spark Combine where you would do, you'd have you run your 40, your 5-10-5, your vert jump, your broad jump, and throw the medicine ball and that type of thing. So it really didn't kick off till 2012 at the end of the year at the Nike Football Training Combine, which that was when I went through it, and guys like Damian Mama, Vianney Talamai-Val, big name guys as offensive linemen, that was when it really took like that jump of like the offensive lineman becoming elite and stuff like that. So I went through that in 2012, got noticed, invited back in 2013, went through the opening in 2013 in Oregon, and then was an Army All-American in 2014. So basically just kind of what I was going to just talk about today is really just what I've learned, the importance of having the last couple, 8 years from as a player going into coaching, from being at the high school to college at the NFL, and then going from college coaching to high school, and what I've struggled with this last year. So first things first, and this kind of correlates to all type of coaching at any position group you have on the field, is group chemistry. As an offensive line coach, your group chemistry is the most important thing. It's more important than any blocking scheme that you could ever come up with. The problem with that is offensive linemen have the most guys on the field at all times. There's always going to be 5 guys on the field, and a lot of the time we're the first ones to blame and the last ones to be acknowledged by. So the biggest thing is if you could build a culture within an offensive line group that they all care about each other, they love each other, and they'll play and go into battle with each other and not have any trust issues if there's problems or anything. That's where I've seen as a player other teams struggle with going through their camp. Next one is, I won't always have the answers as a coach. I'm 24 years old. I don't expect to know every single blocking scheme and every single run scheme there is to know out there. There's so many different ways that coaches explain things and talk about different fronts and how they coach different things. So that's the biggest thing that I've told my kids is, I may have played in the NFL and played at a high level in college, but I'm not going to know everything. So I'm not going to always have the answer. And if I don't, I'll learn and I'll try to find the answer for you. So that was a big one, stepping into an O-line as a coach, as a younger coach, what helped me kind of get that respect from them. And then the next one, when something's wrong, it's my fault. I will never let a head coach or other position coaches or players go directly to the O-line and start blaming and pointing fingers at the O-line. If I call a bad play and it got busted from coverage, if it's their fault, it's my fault at the same time. So that's the next one. I will refuse to let the offensive line be the only one blamed without me being blamed. If there's something that goes wrong, it's my fault as well. It's not their fault. Obviously, there's times that effort and them falling off a block and little stuff like that will come into play. But at the end of the day, it's, I won't let the offensive line be blamed without me being blamed as well as, being their coach. And the next thing, I will listen to their thoughts and ideas. A lot of the time, like Coach Daugherty, I believe it is, Dougherty. With him, he even said, he had a great point, was a lot of the time these kids in this generation that we're growing up with they're different. They're different from when we grew up. They're different from when, all of us other coaches and people grew up. So their ideas and their thoughts on something, just like Coach D was talking about with naming blitzes something. If you're going to name something and talk about a kid or something, let them have some input on it. As far as signals goes, we were a no huddle, signaled run plays in. And I talked to the kids and basically talked to them and let them, hey, what will make sense if we run cut, which is our power, if we run tray, which is our guard tackle type thing. So I kept them in the loop just as much of making the offensive playbook, if anything. So then the last thing is you need to be tough and tough-minded. The biggest thing that I teach these kids that it seems like is a big problem in our society today is having the calm in the storm mentality. When I was with the 49ers, we had a couple of the Dev Gru SEAL Team 6 operators come and talk to us, which is awesome. Just some of the stories that they talked about and letting them talk to us and how calm that they are in crisis is what makes them so elite. And that's something that I talked about with our offensive linemen. That's something that I talked about with our offensive linemen is, when bullets are flying, people are blitzing, they're heating you up, and things are going crazy. The number one thing that's going to cause chaos is if you react with chaos. If you are calm within the storm and you react to things rather than just let them happen and you react off of them, that's where I think being tough and tough-minded can come into play for a lot of people. Okay, so next one, and then again, remember, these are just things that I've learned over the years as a player going into coaching. So part one is keep it simple, stupid. You can know all the coaching lingo and names you want, but if you can't simplify it for your kids, you're useless. So the biggest thing that I struggle is I knew all the low and every name of everything, but couldn't simplify it for the kids. And that's when I really had to step back as a coach and look the big picture to things. You know, Coach Duke Mayweather and Coach Bob Wiley and Coach Chris Strasser and Coach Huff and Rauscher and those guys. Those guys are all guys that I've learned under and have been coached by. And their ability to explain things in the finest detail but simplify it what made me that much of a better player than what I had to figure out with earlier on in high school. And, you know, the last thing is be able to explain things in a simple manner to athletes. A lot of these athletes, guys, aren't going to go play D1 football. And that's what I've had to learn the hard way as a young coach. Going from college to where guys are paying to be there and they want to be there to some high school kids there's going to be kids there that they're chasing a jersey and they would just want to be a part of the club and they're around for the right reason, which is why we've built such a hard-nosed, I can't think of the word, kind of just that attitude team and stuff like that. So next one, so kind of getting rolling into like the important what offensive lineman I think is. It starts from the ground up. You can't expect to play confident fast. If you fast forward past the important parts, start slow, and I mean way slow. The biggest thing that everybody overlooks with offensive linemen that goes from level is your stance will set the foundation in which you will follow. So if you are in a bad stance, that's going to set yourself up for a pass set, bad run step, a bad combo block, right? So the biggest thing, we went over stance and 1, 2, 3 steps every single day all the way through week 10, which was our state championship run. It's important. These kids are developing and they don't know their bodies. They're still at that awkward age where they're figuring it out, but they don't necessarily understand completely. So to kind of cut our timing short, I didn't put the video on here, but if you guys go through the stance progression video on YouTube, you can write it down. If you just type in O-line tips, how to create the perfect stance. LaCharles Bentley, he runs the OLP, O-line performance. He goes through, and exactly what he teaches is exactly what I taught every single day with shoulder width, stagger, kick your toe out, hip, and basically everything that he explained in that video was what I pulled from, that I learned from at Boise State all the way throughout college and then in the NFL. Any questions so far? I can't see the chat, so if you guys do.
Coach, we don't have any questions. If you do have questions, put in the chat, but we do have a couple requests for your email.
Yeah, so at the end, I have an email. I have everything pulled up
cool.
on the end there.
Cool.
Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so the next one. So then biggest thing is rolling through that is the biggest thing that I see struggle, that had my kids struggle with is their feet before their hands. A lot of the time, these young O linemen think that the offensive lineman is being played with your hands, which it is, but I would explain things so simple, and I would do drills and stuff where I would have them literally take their hands and put them behind their back and take pass sets and drill in their head that if they want to get from point A to point B, their feet need to take them there, not their hands. Because a lot of the time their feet will stop and they'll go to reach and then they get beat, because a lot of the time if you got slow feet, you're beat is basically what I've used. So that's the biggest thing, that getting kids to understand that your feet, if you step with one foot, you got to replace with the other one, and having a base under yourself at all times and that type of thing. Next one is, your hands and your punch. Biggest thing that Coach Huff and a lot of my younger college offensive line coaches taught me is your hands are weapons while playing the offensive line. The faster that you can teach your younger O linemen to use their hands aggressively instead of their head and their body, that's when you're going to make that jump to that elite offensive O-line play and play the game safer. A lot of these kids, when I first came in, we never talked about how to carry your hands, how to pass, and what should you do with your hands. A lot of these kids would have hands right up on their chest. Some kids would have their arms straight out in front of you. Some kids would carry them down by their crotch. I call that crotch syndrome. They'd have their hands down by their crotch and they'd get literally long-armed every single time. So with what I teach and what Coach Huff and a lot of these other coaches have taught, make 2 finger guns. So you have them all spread out. You go through your stance stuff. And as far as carrying your hands, I said, all right, guys, make 2 finger guns. I said, all right, kill shot. And then I said, bring your elbows in, make a W, boom. That's where your hand should be carried, right? I have a slight bend in my elbow. It's not necessarily a 45 degree, but I have a slight bend in my elbow. And talking to these kids, I would reference that to bench press because I'm the assistant strength and conditioning coach with Coach Souza. A lot of these kids, their strongest point in bench press is at the top where you barely go down like about 2-3 inches and you just pop back out. That's where you're strongest at in your bench press. So telling these kids, hey, every single rep, I want your hands literally protecting your chest, because when you do that, you protect your chest. It takes the D lineman, it takes their point of contact away. Because if my hands are down and I take a pass set, I have my whole chest exposed, and a lot of the time you're getting bull rushed. And the D linemen are literally taught coming off the ball in the NFL, college, and you can look up any practice video. Their literal contact is contact on first step, both hands are inside. For us as O linemen, one time the lineman understood that, okay, I'm doing this to protect my chest. It made their lives so much easier because they weren't getting bull rushed as young offensive tackles and guards, and they were winning more because they were protecting their chest. Their hands were protecting their chest at the same time. Made their life a lot easier. Through the years, there's so many different ways the offensive linemen and coaches have taught punching and stuff like that. Coach Huff taught me 2-hand punching. I learned the hard way when I played against Washington, and my redshirt sophomore year, we played University of Washington at Washington. I went against Elijah Qualls and big nose guard. He plays for the New England Patriots or somebody. I 2-hand punched, and this man swiped both of my arms, and I lunged so hard and fell on my face on national television. And from that point on, that's where instead of 2-hand punching, let's do individual hand punches. So my outside hand usually punched the outside shoulder, inside hand punched the inside shoulder. I punched high and low, so you had a high-low hand. But I did it both. As a center, I 2-hand punched all the time because I know if I had a guard coming with me in pass pro, I can go for not necessarily a kill shot, but I can go and jump set and get hands on now. The problem that the tackles are having in today's game is the D linemen are getting a lot bigger, faster, and way more athletic than we are O linemen. And we're telling younger O linemen to move backwards and pass it to stop a guy running a 4.6 40 that's faster than hell and athletic as all can be. So,
well, let me ask you a question, Coach. When I was coaching in the Sacramento area, we played there's a school, Rockland High School, and they're notorious. And they, even in their pass sets, and that's what it really made it really tough with them. But in their pass sets, they punched forward, and they were a heavy play action team too. So they would punch forward and then pass set.
Gotcha. So they kind of like out of their set, they would go at you and then turn.
Yeah, and then reset into a pass set. So they would engage and then and then retreat.
Gotcha. So yeah, so I teach. So we have 2 different pass sets. So we have a 3-step, a quick pass protection, quick pro. And then we have our 5-step stuff. Our 3-step stuff, I want our O linemen should be jump setting literally, and I would literally signal in. I want them, so we go push right, they'd go push right, slam. Okay, so push right is they're literally running push right, but our tackle would block. That's our 3-step stuff because our quarterback's taking a 2-step drop. He's catching the ball, boom, 1-2, setting his feet, and he's throwing it. So with that, that's where I'm teaching, hey, you should be literally run blocking. Like you have 3 yards to play with.
Right.
Go at them, get on them. if you hear yourself going downfield, just stop. Because a lot of the times refs aren't going to call it. And if they do, I'll take the ass to him from our head coach, like, hey, you know, but it's the times where your center.
It's like pass interference. They're going to call it all game.
Yeah, right. In your center, and a lot of times it's the obvious ones where your center is 15 yards downfield blocking a safety, and the ref's right in front of me. He's like, oh, well, why the hell is he down? And then he'll throw it. But a lot of the time, I've gotten away with 3, 4, 5 yards downfield because it's our quick game, right? Mm-hmm. So when we go into our 5-step drop, that's where they're taking their actual pass sets and they're setting back, you know, taking their normal pass sets. But our quick stuff, that's when they're jump setting and getting hands on now. And then with that, that's the biggest thing is once they get their hands on now, D linemen, a lot of the time I talk to our younger offensive linemen is, hey, you know, once you make contact and you fit up a D lineman, once they realize it's not run and they're not going to brace for their gap, what are they going to do? Are they just going to stand there and smoke a cig, or what are they going to do? And they're like, oh, no, they're going to rush, coach. I was like, okay, well, yes. That's where your feet before your hands. And that's where I start teaching, hey, the second that you stalemate in your head, you should be thinking, okay, a counter's coming, push, pull, spin, something. That's when the younger guys started catching on. Like, okay, if I feel myself stop, something should be going off in my head. Okay, something's coming. They're going to counter off of me, spin, push, pull, whatever. And then that's where your feet before hands necessarily came into play.
Talking about younger guys, there's a question there. It's for what any simple O-line drills. This Kyle Davis is working with 12-year-olds, but any simple, when you're talking about younger guys, what are some simple O-line drills for some younger guys that might emphasize even that, what you were just talking about?
Yeah. So the beautiful thing is going through our meeting and stuff today is I wasn't necessarily going to talk about like drills and stuff like that, but if you want, I have my email at the end. Okay. I've got tons and tons of stuff for you, Davis, if you want to hit me up on there. And I will go through, I'll literally send you practice plans that I've used from college to high school. Cool. And then the other one, what was the hardest transition from high school level player to being a coach of all?
And then there's another one about tips for any linemen with bend issues, but yeah.
Okay, so what was the hardest transition from high school level player to being a coach? So I don't know if you're referencing like going from like college back down to high school. As far as what I struggled with and what was the hardest transition was in college, guys pay to be there. So they are literally there paying their way to go to college. And we gave out quite a bit of money for scholarships and stuff like that. So with that, a lot of those college kids, we recruited smart, athletic, high FBI offensive linemen in college. So a lot of these guys were smart already. They knew. And a lot of the time I can teach them and tell them, and it's critiquing their technique and stuff. Where high school, I literally had to go back and put myself in their shoes, and I would walk through myself, hey, how would I teach a kid that's never played football before how to get into the perfect pass protection stance? Or how would I teach how I want your hands? So that's where the hardest thing for me was going back and simplifying. So that's what I specialized in this year was I made it so simple, stupid, but I related a lot of what they did in the weight room to the field, because we have a really good strength and conditioning coach, Coach Souza, who's awesome. And everything that we do in the weight room translates to the field, whether it's your power clean, hang clean, your bench press, and that type of thing. So a lot of the time with the hands deal, right? In high school, you could win a rep with one arm outside and one arm inside. You could probably win that rep. I'm a perfectionist. I drilled so much in kids' heads. Hey, if you got one arm outside, I want that hand to be replaced, because at the college level and at the NFL level, it took one arm for me to be outside on Nick Bosa in training camp for me to lose a rep. But knowing that, as soon as you replace, boom, like you're back in the game. At the high school level, I wouldn't let them get away with average. That's the biggest thing is I would drill them so much on, hey, your hands need to be here every single time. And it's not necessarily, oh, your hands need to be at this angle on this part of his chest. No, it's both hands inside. My elbows are tight, right? Everything's nice and tight on that. But that's the biggest thing that I went through, transitioning from college of coaching kind of guys that are kind of already ballers in a sense to high school where guys don't – most of my guys aren't going to go play college football, and I'm okay with that. I sent 2 to college this year, but the fact is there's other kids that are just there for the experience. So that's where I made the game fun. I made, practice fun. It was never, they had a switch is what we called it, to where when it's time to go and it's time to work, we flipped a switch and it's time to go. But, in Indy and stuff like that, I made it fun and I made it enjoyable for a lot of the kids. I bring we would do music at practice, and a lot of the time I ran the DJ booth. So I would bring music and, I made it fun for the kids. So that was the hardest transition. And then Davis, I would like to get some of these drills. Absolutely. Yep. I have my email and everything at the end of this. So I will, if you guys email me, I got tons and tons of stuff for you guys that would be beneficial for you guys. Okay. So going from hands on the punch, that's the next biggest thing, to your eyes, right? The biggest thing this was the craziest thing, and I'm sure some of you coaches can back me up on this.
Is anybody else hearing that?
Yes, I hear it.
Who is that? We got to get that turned off real quick. There's only a couple people on. I know it's not my phone because my phone's turned off. Okay, we're good. Cool. Sorry about that. Go ahead. I was wondering, I'm like, maybe it's just a phone call and it'll turn off, but just – okay, go ahead, boss.
So the next biggest thing that I don't know why younger O linemen do this, but they get in their pass or they get in their stance, and I would teach our centers and guards they'd be in 3 points, tackled be in 2 points, but you'd have that kid that just could not figure out. He was a waist bender. He was not flexible, so I'd let him go out of a 2 point. The biggest thing is they get in their stance and they don't know where to look. Like pre-snap, a lot of these kids are in their stance looking at the ground, counting little pellets in the turf, and I'm like, guys, what are you looking at? Like, what's there to look at? And that's the next big thing is as an offensive lineman, guys, defensive linemen are – I've taught this to my younger linemen. High school D linemen are stupid. That's why they play defense, because their job is to go find ball, tackle, football. Like, that's what they're told. So you teach it with confidence, and with talking to our younger O linemen, it's like, guys, if I'm going to block the 9 tech outside, look at him. There's no need to not look at him. You looking isn't going to tell you – it's not going to tell anybody where they're going, right? So that's what I had to, like, drill was, like, guys, look and see what they're doing, right? I taught a lot of, this is their base defense. This is where they normally line up. If 2 guys are typically close to each other, they're blitzing and they're replacing each other in coverage. So I made it, like, very simple for these guys. So biggest thing with eyes that I learned from Coach Huff, he's at the University of Washington, is he taught me, he's like, I want you to burn a hole in their chest where you want to punch, and then punch through their chest. Don't punch their chest, but punch through their chest. And that was the biggest thing with getting my younger O linemen to figure out, instead of placing hands, to punch through. That's where you catch the violent hands, and that's where you get the kids really understanding, oh shit, okay, violent hands, violent intentions. But if you just say, okay, hey, line up, guys, we're going to punch and go down the line, you catch yourself saying, hey, I want violent hands here. I want violent punches. Right? You can be violent with your hands, but calm with your body at the same time. I can take a pass set and I can punch the living hell out of somebody through their chest, but the rest of my body is so fluid. That's what Coach Huff taught us at the end. With our eyes and training our eyes and understanding, hey, why is the D lineman in a 5 tech where last play he was in the 9 tech? Why is this 3 tech, why is he in a squatty potty stance compared to weight on his hands and coming off the ball. Why is he doing it? That's where, you know, a young coach, I taught the why and how to beat things in a sense. So that's where I got kind of going on my level of, as a player, of understand. As soon as I understood as a player why somebody was doing something and what can I do to beat him, that's what took me to that next level. And that's where I got confident as hell. And that's where I would, you know, I figured it out. But with these younger kids and seeing them, and it's awesome to see once they figure out the why, you know, coach, why do we want to run a bubble with RPO? Why do I want to throw the bubble? Once you see it click for them in their head is the most satisfying feeling in the entire world. So that's why, you know, with my O-line guys and, you know, going back, and, you know, starting with stance and then going with your 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, and starting slow, you start to explain the why without even really having to explain it, right? So other than that, guys, I kept it nice and short. I know we got a lot of speakers to get through, and it's a Saturday night, so
no worries. What we got a lot of are questions about your drills and stuff like that. So the fact that you've already kind of addressed that with the email. If you want to put that next slide up, Coach, because then I know that had your information and stuff for everybody to be able to get a hold of you guys. Go ahead, because one of the last questions was, Coach, do you have any drill for coaching centers? I know you talked about linemen in general, but I think we all kind of know centers are kind of that special. They kind of have a lot of special rules and special responsibilities. So if you had any coaches for one-hand snapping,
basically, so looking at this is the last slide that I have, guys. So this is my email. I threw my personal cell phone in there. I got my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You guys are more than welcome. I have it's an awesome Google Drive, and it has tons of drills and, you know, offensive plays and college cut-ups and stuff like that, you know, if you message me and have questions about some of these drills and stuff, I will send you whatever you want to hear and help you through that type of thing. As far as drills for coaching centers and punching with one hand is snapping. So I learned that. I had to learn that the hard way against University of Washington. And it's a lot of it's just self-taught for me, but I taught centers. Obviously, we would work pre-practice. All my centers, I'd have 3 centers with 3 quarterbacks, and we'd go through mesh every single day. And I would have 2 centers go instead of 3, and the other center would stand in front of him, and he would snap and punch at the same time. But if you want to email me, I could explain that and like go into depth with exactly what you want to know and explain it piece by piece, so we can kind of get rolling with our other speakers. But and then Mike Dougherty, what do you do for competitions? So as a player, I don't know why, but even though I was an offensive lineman, I thought I was a receiver. So for our fun competitions and stuff like that, I would do at the right time, fat guy 7-on-7. I would do O-line, D-line, like one-on-one pass routes. But for like O-line, when we needed to go to work competitions, if we had, it's called, there's so many different ways to call it, but basically is, Dougherty, if you want to email me or text me, I can send you an actual video of it. Basically, both 2 guys would have a little ring that the D lineman would run around. Each guy would get 1 hand inside and 1 hand on the outside. And you have, it's literally probably like 5 yards, basically. And your job, which taught toughness and using your hips, and it's basically guy on guy, and you start fitted up. And basically, if you drive the other guy out of the circle, you win. There was that one. There's a lot of our competitions, we did like team competitions, like inside run, half line, but like O-line competitions that drill, if you email me, I'll send you a cut up, and it's awesome, man. It worked tremendous for me. It teaches kids their hips and how important just getting one extra hand in and how beneficial it is for you. But yeah, guys, so here's, again, appreciate everything. Hope you guys are all doing all right with this COVID crap, man. Again, you are always more than welcome. My email's up there, troy.bacon@rocky.edu. My personal phone number, text, call me whenever. And then social medias. I've got tons of drill work, practice scripts, whatever. If you guys need anything, I've got my old NFL playbooks. If you guys want to look at some of that stuff.
Shoot, we might just have you as a guest speaker, just like one, and then go over all that stuff by yourself one night. So cool.
Yeah, man. So absolutely. Well, thank you guys. I'll get off here and I'll kind of keep this thing rolling to the next guy. And if you guys need anything, email's up there, phone, and you guys are more than welcome to reach out to me on it.
Right on, Troy. Thank you, man. Just go ahead and make me the host again, and we will go ahead and start. That was awesome. Any questions? Anything? Nothing, guys. That was awesome. I think we all love calling plays, and we all love drawing up plays, and we all love doing stuff like that. But I think we all know deep down inside that it's all one down in the trenches, and you have to have an offensive line. The nastier, the better. Boom. All right, we got a couple guys jumping on back in. All right, go ahead and take 3 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and refill my pitcher of water. And then one of my good buddies, Coach Costa, Matt Costa, is going to come up next. Just a little about this guy. He's been at 3 programs and rebuilt all 3 of them into playoff teams. Played college ball, and I don't think he minds me telling you. The guy played college ball mostly out of grit and determination, more than anything, because he can tell you the position that he played that he was good at and the size he played it at, and he played it at a college level. So that's cool. But it speaks to the type of coach he is too, because it really transcends into his football teams. And the culture he ends up bringing to those teams. So I'm going to go and get some water, go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back at 3:47 Pacific time.
Coach Doc, can you hear me?
Right, moving right along. All right, I'm loving this so far. Any questions? Thanks, Troy. Well, Coach, I don't know why you're muted.
You let everybody unmute themselves if they want, and I don't know how you would turn that off. That might be in meeting settings, but
There you go.
I'm not.
Well, we are learning as we go. All right. All right, here we go. All right, Coach Costa, Matthew Costa, good buddy of mine. I kind of gave you a little mini introduction, but the floor is yours, sir. Let me give you the you are now the host, my friend. Take over.
Hey, guys. So like Mark was saying, my name is Matt Costa. I'm the head varsity football coach at Pleasant Grove High School in Elk Grove. Mark's been one of my good buddies for a long time. Him and I had an opportunity to coach together at my stop before Pleasant Grove at Kennedy. A little bit about myself. Grew up here in Sacramento. Played college football at American River College. Played at University of St. Mary, which is an NAIA school in Leavenworth, Kansas. And kind of like Mark said, I was an undersized nose guard. Like Mark said, undersized, not like, I'm not talking like 6'1", like 210. I'm talking 5'5", 190, right? So,
and
the fact that
too,
and played, and the fact that that was even possible, like, is just, some people are just like, I don't even know how you did that. So, and I won't lie, my body kind of sometimes like tells me in the morning that I played nose guard at the college level at 5'5", 190. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick. So I think it's important, and I wanted to make sure that this talk was one that we did first and made sure that we had this, is because I hear a lot of the same things from a lot of coaches. I heard it from Troy last night when we were all sitting around bullshitting before we started this deal. Some guys had a bad experience in high school, right? Some guys, had experiences that just, might not have always been the greatest experiences ever. And I think it's important that we work as coaches to give our kids a great experience and one that they remember, because not all of them are going to go on and play college football, right? Some of them are going to go on and be all-stars and whatever it is they're going to do. And us as coaches need to be able to give them some lessons that they can take after they're done playing football for us. So kind of how did I come to my philosophy? Well, the first few stops I was at, and I'll talk about them in a minute, culture wasn't really a big deal. It was more about the X's and O's. And when I got to PG, we had great athletes, but the culture was just screwed up. And my first 2 years were not very successful. And in 2018, I had probably, in my opinion, 2020 has been pretty easy based on the situation that I had in 2018. So from a personal note, in 2018, I lost my father-in-law, my wife's dad, and it wrecked me. I mean, he was like one of my really good friends, and I didn't take it well. And as a result, her and I were on the outs in a lot of different ways. Both of my parents had heart attacks, and all the things that was going on outside the field affected what was going on it, right? Like, I wasn't a very good coach. I wasn't a very good teacher in the classroom, and I needed to improve myself in order to improve my program. So anyway, one day after practice, I remember it vividly. Our principal's son, who's just a stud, he's playing up at Linfield College in Oregon, played on a bum wheel his entire senior year. He had a high ankle sprain, might have got into practice a week, and then went out and just sold out every Friday night. And we were leaving practice towards the end of the season, and him and I were, rapping at the end of practice. And he looks at me and he goes, Coach, there's something that we need to learn from all this. And for whatever reason, that struck me and kind of rang home to what was going on within the program, but more importantly, what was going on for me. So I started to make a shift in my mindset and how I was running a program. Not so much focusing on the X's and O's like I had done in the past, but then started thinking, like, what do I actually need to do to improve this thing? The first thing that happened, so my defensive backs coach, Steve Macias, he's actually an AD at a school, a Catholic school that doesn't have football. He's one of my best friends. I've coached with him off and on for probably close to 15 years or longer. He handed me this book by Joe Ehrman called Inside Out Coaching. And I read it cover to cover like twice over Christmas break. There was a lot of things in that book that really rang home to me. And I started kind of going down this path of how is it that I coach kids? Then I ended up meeting a sports psychologist, a guy by the name of Grant Parr, worked with the New England Patriots, worked with a bunch of different people. And I met him at a Glacier clinic, and him and I rapped for about 6 hours sitting in a bar drinking. And it was great. Him and I have become friends. We talk at least weekly, and just a great dude. He turned me on to this book called Culture Defeats Strategy by Randy Jackson, which was another book that I really kind of absorbed a lot. And then our athletic director quit, which was actually a blessing in disguise. I wasn't a big fan of him. And they hired this guy by the name of Scott Graydon. And if you guys follow high school basketball, he was a head coach at Sheldon High School. They're always in the top 20 of the fucking country. They're just awesome, right? And he was kind of the architect behind it. And the thing that's funny about Scott –
that being said, this is a new school compared to everything. What they've been around 15 years, something like that. And they're like a national power, sending guys to Duke and stuff like that. So he knows how to create some big time stuff.
So, and a little background about Scott, and Scott has become really one of my close friends. Scott was an assistant at the University of Santa Clara. He recruited Steve Nash. Him and Steve Nash are like good friends. He's got friends that coach for the Lakers. He's got friends that coach for the Cavaliers. Him and I have been to a bunch of different basketball games, and I got a chance to meet Phil Jackson with Scott, and he's just an awesome, awesome guy. And a lot of some of this is stuff that him and I have worked on together. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the differences between Mara Loma and Kennedy and then Pleasant Grove. So I went to Mara Loma. Mara Loma had a history of winning prior to recent history. So kind of like I was talking to one of the coaches before whose son plays over at Intercom. Terry Stark, who was at Intercom, was my head coach at Mara Loma. And man, we won a CVC title with 22 dudes and a girl kicker. So early on in my football journey, I kind of learned what it was like to just kind of man up and get after shit, because that's what you had to do with 22 dudes and a girl kicker, right? And when I got to Mara Loma, it was more about putting kids in the right spot. We had dudes. And there was kind of already that culture there because there's that history of Mara Loma bringing the Delaware wing T to Sacramento with Jerry Kundert and Don Brown in the 60s. Jerry Kundert actually was on my staff. He was my O-line coach when we were there, and we ran the wing T. Then when I left and went to Kennedy for a multitude of different reasons. When I got there, Kennedy had no history of winning. Mark was actually on my staff at Kennedy. And really one of the things that we focused on a lot was scheme.
Hold on. They didn't they were what, 32-game losing streak?
Yeah, we had the state's longest losing streak when I took over.
When you took over, and then the second year was whenever I came on, yeah.
Right. So when I took over, my first year we were 0-10. We had the state's longest losing streak. They were 0-32. And then Mark came on and really started helping me rebuild this thing. And really one of the things that we focused on was scheme, and we focused on creating tough practices. And in 2014, we started to turn the corner, finished 6-4, just didn't make the playoffs. And then 2015, we went 8-2 with 25 dudes. And we started out with 45 and lost 20 because our practices were just so goddamn tough. So anyway, neither place we really emphasized culture as how we did things. Pleasant Grove, when you got there, so you guys understand a little bit about Pleasant Grove, Eric Armstead with the 49ers went to Pleasant Grove long before I got there. He was under Joe Catalico, and they always had great dudes, and they still had great athletes when I showed up. The problem is the culture was a fractured culture. You had kids that lived in the rich area, Rancho Marietta, which is a golf course community, and then we would get kids from the Florin area, which was really that inner city group. And so you kind of had these two different worlds that you were working with. Lots of infighting amongst the staff and kids, really a lack of cohesion, and the program at the time was reflecting where I was at with the shit that was going on at home. In 2019, that senior class that came in kind of bought into the things that were going on with me and bought into the changes that I was trying to make. In 2018, we were 0-10. I fired a coach in the middle of a game. At the end of the last game of the season, I walked off the field and fired my entire lower-level staff. And at the end of 2018, I was me and two other coaches, Blake Morey, who's a good buddy of mine, and then Steve Macias. And then I started hiring different guys who were going to really do things my way. Last year, we were 6-5, lost to Monterey Trail in the playoffs. And, we got most of our guys coming back, man. I mean, we got 19 returning starters, and not 19 returning starters across the board, but guys that at least started one game for us last year. So things are on the up and up. COVID really, ironically enough, COVID hasn't really hurt our culture at all. We get an opportunity to go out and work out every day and get ready for our spring season. So, the train just keeps kind of moving, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. So there's some definitions I kind of want you guys to grapple with and some things to think about. So there's really 4 definitions, I think, as coaches that we need to think about when we're talking about culture. The first one is, what is culture, right? Set of values, conventions, and social practices.
Hey, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach, can you go back to that last slide real quick?
Sure.
Maybe it was the slide before that. There was a gentleman there was a slide where you were talking about a sports psychologist you talked to, and then Joe Ehrman. When I read that reminds me, it's crazy. I know who that guy is. He took over a spot, if I'm not mistaken, in Baltimore.
Correct.
But can you talk about what that inside out coaching, and are you going to touch on that later?
I'm actually going to go into that.
Okay, cool. Okay, my bad. Go ahead. You know what you're doing. Go ahead, sir.
So a couple things. There's some definitions I think that we all kind of need to think about as coaches. One, that definition of culture. What is it? 2, what are conventions? Well, conventions, which is a part of a culture, is an agreement. The third one is social contract theory. I am a history major, so I'll get a little historical on you. Social contract theory is from John Locke, that idea of us as individuals kind of giving up our some of who we are for the greater good of society. And then last, coming up with a definition of success. For me, I think it's important that you come up with your own definitions of success. And for me, it's graduating men and women of character who change the world for good. Okay. And I'll talk about more of some of this stuff here in a second. I'm a firm believer that wins and losses are a byproduct of doing the things I'm going to mention. Right. I don't believe that you can control wins and losses. I believe that you can control the process to getting those wins and losses. So the three parts that I really think is important when you're really talking about changing a culture, and if you're a coach that has taken over a program that is struggling, God bless you, right? I know what it's all about. But when you're talking about culture and the culture of your program, there's really three things that I think need to have some type of equal part within the culture that you're trying to create. The first one is values. You got to have some things that you value. Those conventions that I talk about, that social contract. And last, some social practices. Like, what is it that your culture of your program does? Each of these parts have to be a part of your program equally in some way. And you start to flip your mindset. And for me, I don't look at my football team as a team or athletes or football is what we do. I look at my team as a community. We're a community of people, and each kid and each coach has an equal stake in the betterment of that community. As we move forward, and there's some things that I think as coaches we all need to look at and ask ourselves. The first one is, what do I want my culture to look like? You know, how do I want that culture to look from somebody who's standing across the sideline? What does it look like to them? The second one is how does my culture feel? If I go out to practice and I'm not looking forward to being there, that's something you got to think about. I look forward to going to practice every day. So that question of how does my culture feel is really an easy one to answer when you get down to it. The third one is if I was a student athlete, would this be a culture that I would want to be a part of? What's it like to be coached by me? Right? In 2018, I can tell you I was an asshole. Like I wouldn't want to be coached by me. Right? Would I want to be coached by me? 2018, no. Now my answer is a little different. And then last, and I think this is important, and this is what I got from Coach Ehrman, is do you have a transformational coaching statement? You know, because if you don't have a goal of transforming every kid on your team to be a better human being when they leave you, you're not ever going to get the most out of them that you think you can get. Because the goal at the end is if those kids are better humans, they're going to play better for each other. And on top of that, they're going to have a better experience. So some of the things that we value at PG, we have core values at PG, and obviously our mascot is Eagles, and I'm not overly creative. You'll see that as we get into it. Our core values spell out Eagles. It's empathy, accountability, goal-oriented leadership, esprit de corps. That means spirit of the team, and then scholarly, because I want my kids to be smarter than I am. My transformative coaching statement, I coach to teach young men and women how to be resilient in the face of adversity, how to conquer difficult situations with a grit mindset, and how to live a life and how to live with empathy and integrity in order to foster meaningful and healthy relationships. And I say that because before I started going down this path, I was very much the wins and losses defined who I was. As I went down this path, I began to realize I'm letting something that's really out of my control, because I can control the process, but I can't control the scoreboard. And I'm letting something that's out of my control how I felt about myself, right? And when I started to change my mindset, I began to start to change how I judged myself and the relationships that I built with my players, my friends, my parents, my wife, and that became my focus, and we became more successful on the field as a result. My program has a mission statement, building future leaders through discipline and structure in a team environment. And then each of our teams has their own mission statement. And I teach our kids how to develop their own mission statement within our program. Social practices. This is a big one for me because I don't believe that a lot of coaches put a lot of emphasis in this. So some of the social practices that I'm going to highlight, I have in bold there. But there's the five that I'm going to highlight I think are some that I do different than a lot of other coaches. And those different ones are rites of passage, mental performance, themed days, which I'll talk about here in a bit, program language, and then meditation and visualization. So why core values? And I think this is important because if your program doesn't have core values, then I have to ask, what happens when things get bad, right? What do you have to turn back to, right? Core values that you have should be what's driving your program and how you develop your men and women. Because like for us, we have team trainers, and I coach them on this stuff just as much as I coach our football players. These core values should be the basis of all the decisions that you make, right? If you have written rules, those written rules should be written with those core values in mind, right? Your core values should align with three things. One, what you personally believe makes a good person. Two, should be aligned with the school's philosophy. And then last, should be at the core of what you're teaching your kids. So if I got a kid that can step, strike, and extend on the defensive line really well, but he's an asshole in the classroom, I'm not doing my job as a coach and coaching the whole person, right? And the most important part about having these core values is when things get bad, the core values are what help you. And we had a spot, and we had a last year, about a 3 to 4 game stretch where we lost our starting quarterback, and we lost like 4 games straight, right? And it was those core values that got us through. And we were in every game. I mean, we lost to our league champion by 1 point with a backup, right? So a mission statement, and this is important too. I think a mission statement drives your program. It states the purpose of who you are as a program and should be aligned with the school's mission statement. And then every team should have a mission statement because it solidifies who they are within the history of your program, right? So every high school football program has a history. That history is either good or it's bad. And in order to improve on that history, you have to be able to get kids to buy into their part of the history within the program, right? And last, and this is different from a lot of coaches, I think it's okay to celebrate individuality in sports. And the reason why I think it's okay is because each and every single one of these kids that make up our team is an individual outside of football, right? And with that thought process, what it does is it changes. They feel a part of the team, but they also feel that their individuality of who they are is respected. And you get more buy-in as a result. So social practices, I think, are important. I think they help to create a program that's different from your other programs on campus. One of the ones that we really emphasize is rites of passage. Kind of like what Coach Bacon was talking about earlier, kids today are different. And part of the reason why kids today are different is they don't have rites of passage, right? When we were all kids, part of that rites of passage was going and getting your driver's license, right? Getting that driver's license was a big deal. And that's just one example. And we got kids today, man, that don't get their driver's license when they're 16. To me, it just blows my mind. But we don't have those for this generation, right? So we've created some. The first one is jersey ceremony. And so for us, the jersey ceremony gives our parents an opportunity to talk about their son and why they're proud of their son in a public forum. There's a lot of times where kids have never heard their parents tell them why they're proud of them. And for us, I think it's important because it celebrates, again, that kid is an individual, but then who they are as part of a team, right? The next one we do is the first practice. And I think the first practice is important because it's the first time that you have freshmen, right? This is their first exposure to high school football. So what we do is we get all the freshmen and all 4 classes together. We talk about the importance of football, talk about the importance of team, and then we also introduce these freshmen to their senior peer brothers. So these seniors have the responsibility of teaching these kids what it means to be a Pleasant Grove football player on campus, on a football field, in the community, right? And how they're representing the program as a whole to the greater community in Elk Grove. Then we do a thing called the last practice. The last practice I think is important because it wraps up the season for those freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, but it wraps up 4 years for the seniors. A lot of times high school football coaches don't have I got a question here.
No, it's a nice compliment.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man. So a lot of times seniors don't have the ability to wrap up their 4 years in high school. And I think that's important, to be able for them to focus back and remember the things that they've been through. And then in our awards banquet, we do a thing called Passing of the Order. And I'll be honest with you guys, I stole from PJ Fleck the row the boat thing. I think it's the coolest shitting thing ever. And reflection of what football really is, a bunch of dudes trying to go in the same direction. And I think and I robbed it, and you're going to see in a lot of things I do, I rob a lot of shit. I think if you're not robbing stuff, what's that? I
think the senior thing's huge because I know that I've always tried to really get the seniors to understand that like once football's over, because I think we all experienced it. I know I experienced it because I wasn't sure if I was going to go play college ball at all. But I know, some guys that are recruited, whatever, that's great. But some kids, when football's over, it's like, over. Boom, there's a huge void for them, and they don't know how. A lot of kids, and I've told them, like you tell them in the middle of the season, like, hey, you seniors, this is it. And when football practice is over and you don't have practice to come to on Monday next week when season's done, there's going to be some – now some kids are like, yeah, I can't wait, yeah. But those kids – there's going to be kids that absolutely miss it. And I think that's a huge thing that is just like kind of there's no – it just falls off the cliff.
Right. Exactly. Agreed. One of the things we do too is we do theme days, and again, like I said, I robbed things from everybody, right? And I took this from that book, Culture Defeats Strategy by Randy Jackson. Now, I didn't take all of his names of his days. I came up with my own, but I took the idea from him. So Mondays for us is Motivation Monday. When we come in the weight room, it's motivational videos. We lift. And then that's our day. We do install, and we do a lot of individual drill focused stuff. Tempo Tuesday, we come into our seventh period class, the last class of the day. That's when we do film, and we keep film real short, right? If I get a chance to talk about simplification, I'll kind of talk a little bit about that. We keep film short because I will only want to highlight the previous week's game, but then I want to get into the important detail stuff of what their opponent's going to do. Tempo Tuesday, we have loud music out of practice. We want to get our guys to get after it. It's all small group focused stuff, so inside run, edge run, 7-on-7, that kind of thing. Competition Wednesday, I'll talk about in a separate slide because it's completely different from what a lot of other people do when they're doing preparation. And then Preparation Thursday, that's when we do film. We do 11-on-11 thud on Thursdays. And then Payday Friday, that's game day. We call Friday Payday. Offensive off-season themes are the same. The only thing we change up is there's more lifting, and then competition's individual focus. So, like, for example, like on Competition Wednesday, we'll take our kids in the wrestling room and we wrestle, right? We'll do things like we'll do tug of war. We'll do all kinds of things like that on Competition Wednesday in the off season. So this is Competition Wednesday in a nutshell, and this is one of the things that I think we do that's different than a lot of other programs. So all of our drills on Wednesday are all geared towards competition. So we'll do one-on-ones versus the receivers and the DBs. We'll do one-on-one pass pro, pass rush with the offensive lineman, hot couple. We'll do all kinds of competition type stuff. We'll do board drills. We'll do Oklahoma's offense versus defense. But then when we do 11 on 11, it's our defense against our offense. And the only thing that we're working on is critical. So we're working on 1st and 10. We're working on 3rd down. We're working on red zone. And our offense will be calling similar calls to the opponent, and the defense will do the same. But we're working on critical down scenarios against ourselves. I got a couple questions here, it looks like. What was the expression for the first practice? Coach, what do you mean by expression for the first practice again? We call that the first practice. And again, it's us introducing peer buddies and talking about the importance of football, that kind of thing. Hopefully that answers your question. I'll try and answer some of those questions more at the end, hopefully, if you guys have some. Our install and scouting are tied with our theme days. So Motivation Monday is install, set, rec, and we introduce the opponent. Tempo Tuesdays, all small group, lots of reps. We go against the opponent's offense and inside run, edge run, and 7-on-7 and flip it and do it with the defense against the opponent's defense also. Like I said, Competition Wednesdays, us versus us, and then Preparation Thursday. This is when we do a little 11th drive or two out of a couple different games. And what we'll do then with those drives is we'll run them against our defense. So the other thing we do is we have a mental performance program. We go through, and you'll notice there's 12 weeks. And we start from week 1 of the season with the first preseason practice, and we have a topic, and we have an actual curriculum that we teach. And if you guys are interested, I forgot to put my email in the on the PowerPoint, but I'll put it in the chat, and I can send you kind of the stuff that we do on a document. But we have an entire curriculum that we go through for mental performance. Program language is important. Everything that we talk about means something. Win. We want to have a win mindset. What's important now? What does family mean? Family means forget about me. I love you. Row the boat. Like I said, yeah, I totally stole that. Load the canoes. That's a big one. So when we talk about loading the canoes, we play off-site at a community stadium. So every single game we play, when I say load the canoes, the kids know they go to locker room, they get changed, and they go get on the bus. Get your mind right. That's a big one. So, like, if something's going sideways in the middle of a game and I walk out into the huddle and I say, get your mind right, the kids turn around and look at me and they go, my mind's right, coach. And so it's just that opportunity to snap them back into place. We talk about loose change a lot. So on defense, we always want to get that loose change. That's a big one that we talk about. Fear, we always talk about fear. For us, fear is false evidence appearing real, right? Because to me, it's just a football game. What are you actually afraid of, right? You afraid of losing? Like, okay, is that going to change what happens to you on Saturday morning if you lose a football game? Are you afraid of winning? How's your life going to be different if you win, right? So it takes that fear of winning and losing out of the kid's mind. And then the other one is the coaching language. And if I get a chance to talk about simplification, I can get more into this. I kind of felt like this was more important. But everything that we discuss when I'm coaching a kid up is explicit, very short, and means something. So if I'm talking to a defensive lineman about step, strike, extend, and he doesn't step, and I look at him and go, hey, man, power step. He knows, bang, I didn't take my 6-inch power step. Or I'm backer, their settle step. Hey, settle step. They know, oh, I didn't take a settle step, right? Simple things like that. Be mindful about your language and how you're coaching things up. So here's a couple pictures of some of the things that we do. this is this first picture over here on my left. It might be on your left. I'm not sure. These are 3 of my linemen. So every year during our bye week, we take our defense and offensive linemen to the Charles Schultz Museum in Santa Rosa. And, one of the culture things that we do is for each holiday, we always watch the Charles Schultz specials. So one day for film, going into Halloween, we're going to watch Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin every year.
You love Charlie Brown, though, bro. You've had those things on the back of your classroom wall since I've known you.
So I tried to put in a video here, but for some reason it didn't work out. But we do a rhythm activity, talking about team being as one and being in rhythm with each other. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but each one of these guys that's standing up there, what we do is we go and raid the band room. And when we do our overnight and we stay out on the football field, the last practice of the first week, we come in and we do our rhythm activity, and the kids come up with a rhythm, and it's pretty cool. It's in our mental performance program. And like I said, if you want to talk more about that, I can talk about it later. Like I said, row the boat is a big deal. So like that row the boat sign, that's everywhere. Everywhere in our weight room, our locker room, it's all over school. Kids see it everywhere. This one here, obviously you can see the oar in the picture. And then this last one, it's kind of hard to see, but we have a flag that hangs in our team room. That says "Live a Great Story." And that's what I want my kids to do. I want them to live a great story. I want them to be able to, when they come back to their high school reunion, they're like, "Hey man, do you guys remember when we did XYZ our senior year or our junior year?" Right? Like I want them to have that story, right? That they can tell their kids and their grandkids, like, this is what it was like playing Pleasant Grove football. Couple other things that we do different. I don't do a pregame speech.
This is what I thought was interesting when you and I talked, because I know a lot of coaches love the pregame speech.
Yeah, and you can ask Mark.
I use the history of it, right? I mean, I love it.
Right. Like, I used to be all about the pregame speech, right? Like I was all about the the
rah-rah, yeah.
And I found that it gets kids in a mindset that they start to get clammed up and they're concerned about the outcome, right? And what I want our guys to be where their feet are, okay? So I remove the pregame speech. And when we're in the locker room, we do 3 things. We go over goals. What's our goals for the week? We go over our personnel packages. We go over a scouting report. Then the other thing that we do, and it's part of our pregame script, and I'll go over that in a second, is we do visualization, meditation and visualization. So we take a 5-minute period in our pregame where the kids, we get together. I take them through a prompt. It involves breathing because, in my opinion, and also some of the other sports psychologists I've worked with, we do a breathing activity. I believe that if you have your breath, you have your mind. And if you have your mind, you're going to perform better on Friday night. So our pregame script kind of goes like this. So we dress, review our goals. When we hit the field, we do defensive endo walkthrough. And then we do our special teams packages. And then we go to a separate place off of our warm-up outside the stadium, do our meditation and visualization. I give our players time on their own. And then we head to the field. Then we do all our offensive stuff on the field. And then it's payday Friday. So the convention part really is, does anybody have – yeah.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
Ryan asked, would you be willing to share the PowerPoint? I'm sure you would, but he was just asking.
Yeah, and I'll put my email in the chat too when we're done. So anyway, and I could share everything I got, guys. I got to be 100% honest with you. I'm an open book, right? This game is too friggin' hard to try and have a bunch of enemies out there. So, like, I'm friends with everybody I coach against. There isn't anybody that I don't like, right? And I just think it's too hard. This game is just way too hard for that. So anyway, a little bit here in my PowerPoint. So the conventions part. Now, this is the important stuff. So how do you know your kids are even bought into this shit, right? Well, the convention or the agreement that your kids make, agreement isn't that agreement is action, right? I'm upholding the first two components that we talked about, the social practices and then the things that we value, okay? So those are taught by the performing those things, those unspoken laws of the program, like running to the back of the line, right? And the little detail stuff, and they're performing that, they've bought in. I don't need a kid to tell me that he's bought in. If he shows up to practice every single day, runs to the back of the line, does exactly what I ask all the time, I know for a fact that kid's bought in. These unspoken laws are coached by our coaches. I'm a big, I coach my coaches just as much as I coach my kids. It's their job just as much as me to uphold the values and social practices of the program. We have a big emphasis at PG about finishing drills, and finishing drills is not just finishing the drill, but the drill ain't done until you get back to the end of the line, right?
Hey, Matt.
And then last, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to touch on that. Coaches, you're coaching your coaches to coach more than you coach your kids. Like, I learned that from Dave. I don't know if that's where you picked that up, but that to me was one of the most important things I learned as a coach, like as a head coach. You have to coach your coaches to coach, because if they're not, if you walk over to a drill and you start yelling at the kids, it's like they should be coaching their kids.
Exactly, 100%. Okay, so like I said, the kids are going to agree to this stuff by their actions. I don't need a kid to come up and tell me if he's bought in. Most of the time, if he comes up and tells me he's bought in, I know that he's not bought in, right? Like, you can't I've been in two, right? If a kid's bought in based on what they do, based on their actions. And an example is like, and they did this on their own. Every single varsity football player at Pleasant Grove that has a Letterman jacket, it says, row the boat on the back of their friggin' Letterman jacket. I didn't tell them to do that. They did that shit on their own, right? And that's how you know they've bought in. So some things that I think that are important to remember about building a winning culture. One, coaches can coach up their culture, and they should coach up their culture, right? I think that there's a number of coaches out there that just overlook it, right? They figure that if I put the biggest badass scheme out there in the world, that we're going to win right away, and this is what we're going to do. And I don't believe that. I believe it doesn't matter what I run. I'm more than willing to walk over and hand my opponent, here's my playbook, this is how we call shit, this is what we do, because in my opinion, it's my culture that's going to beat you, not my scheme. Coaches build the expectations and lay the groundwork of the culture, but the kids drive the culture, right? I just lay the groundwork. My staff just lays the groundwork. The kids drive it. Coaching culture and being a transformative coach is an ongoing process. You're never going to master it. Guys, I work on this every day. I work on it when I'm at school. I work on it when I'm in my classroom. I work on it when I'm at the practice field, when we're having coaching staff meetings, when I'm at home with my wife. I don't mean I'm like coaching my wife up like a football coach, but those values. Hey, yeah, and Mark will tell you my wife will kick my ass if I start trying to coach.
Yeah, I was like, that ain't happening, bro. That's not happening.
So for me, it's something that you just got to live every day. You're never going to master it. There's days where I'm 1,000 times better at it than I am like I was 3 days ago, right? So, and this is the last thing that I think is important, and it's a realization that I came to through a lot of this process. Football is something we do, right? It's not who we are, right? We love it. I love football, man. It's the friggin' greatest thing there is on the planet. I don't think there's anything better than the sport of football at all. But it doesn't define you. It doesn't define you as a coach. It doesn't define your kids. It doesn't define the parents. It doesn't define the school. It doesn't define any of that shit. It's just something that we do, and it's something we love to do, right? It's the relationships that we as coaches build with our football players, our families, the people that support the program, our own family, our friends. That's what defines us, right? And that is where I think it frees us up, really, to even be a better coach than we could be if that's how we feel about football. Like, if football defines me, then I have to win. Like, I want to win. Don't get me wrong. Mark will tell you. I will win a friggin' circle drawing competition if somebody friggin' signs me up in that shit, right? I want to win. But whether I win or lose isn't going to define who Matt Costa is as a person, right? I'm still going to continue to live on Saturday morning, whether I win or lose, right? Last, and this is something, and Mark will remember this guy. Remember Joe Macias? He's one of our assistant coaches at American River.
Yeah.
Him and Ralph Horry.
Yeah.
So Joe said this to me one day. Joe was on my staff for years. He was on my staff in Mariloma. His nephew's my DB coach right now. And Joe always used to say this: coaching football can be like getting a new girlfriend. I added the last part. Coaching football can be like getting a new girlfriend every year if you aren't mindful about coaching your culture. If you coach your culture, the kids will adapt. And it won't be like getting a new girlfriend every year. You won't have the teams you dislike, right? Because the kids will start to see the bigger picture. And that, to me, as a coach, and where I'm at 40 years old, still coaching a kids game, that's where I'm at with it. I know some of you guys have some questions, and this is a big thing too. Guys? Culture never graduates, guys. Culture sticks around, right? So I'm going to try and answer some of these questions here in the chat real quick. I'll totally share the PowerPoint. So here's my email. Go ahead and shoot me an email. And like I said, guys, I'm an open book. I know that I was going to talk about simplification too, but I want to make sure some of these other guys get an opportunity to speak. And I just felt like that was the second talk I was going to do, but I really felt like that was the most important one that I could have done.
Yeah.
Guys, I got to be honest, man. Football is a labor of love, dude. It really is. I absolutely, I could totally talk about how my culture affects numbers. So we actually have the most numbers right now in the program that we've ever had in the history of the school. So we got 140 kids playing football right now.
140?
Yeah, we got 140.
Wow, that's a big number. Do you have freshman, JV, and varsity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got all three levels, freshman, JV, and varsity. So the biggest reason why we've had, and when I started there, I mean, we might have had like 70 or 80 kids. We were only running 2 levels. We've seen, and what has happened is kids talk, right? And kids talk about good and bad things. We've seen a rise in numbers because of the amount of fun that our kids have. Because it's not just, I mean, we do all kinds of things, guys. I mean, our kids do, there's a day we usually do during the bye week where kids come out to practice and, they do skits on the coaches, right? We do things, and I stole this one from Mark. the first 3 weeks after competition Wednesday, not only do we give out Gatorades on competition Wednesday, which we give out to the winning team, whether it's the offense or defense, but we bring out trash cans of watermelon. Kids just stand around eating watermelon, dude, right? Putting on the helmet stickers is a big deal, right? We make everything a big deal. And so because kids have a good time, kids come out, right? Kids want to be a part of it. And not only that, but we get kids, and I've always had kids that talk to me all the time, kids that I've coached years ago, and I don't talk to a lot of the ones that I coached years ago, but when I started at PG, I don't really talk to a lot of the kids in my first class or two, but last year's seniors, they've graduated. I talk to all of them all the time. They're always calling me, telling me how they're doing. Jack O'Connor plays at Idaho State. He literally will call me through the week just to bullshit, right? And when you flip your mindset and start to build those relationships, those kids will go through a friggin' wall for you, 100%. So I hope that answers that question a little bit. Anybody else got any other questions? All right. Well, that's all I got.
That was awesome.
Go ahead.
Thank you, bro. No, that was awesome.
So if you guys want, I got the simplification stuff. I don't have to talk about that tonight, but if you guys want me to, I will. I'll be glad to.
We have the Facebook page.
Go ahead.
And no, we have the Facebook page up, and anybody who got the email, anybody who signed up for this has got an email and they've got access to the Facebook page. And dude, you and I'll or if a couple guys want to get on in the next week or so, and we can just do a Facebook Live and have it on there and talk about and talk about your next one. Yeah.
And really, just to kind of touch on simplification for me, first of all, trying to simplify shit ain't simple. Right? When you start to get into simplification and trying to figure out how to simplify terminology, I'll be real. And if you guys want, like I said, you guys want to set up a separate Zoom call, I'll be glad to talk about it. But it ain't simple. Right? But it's never really done. But when you start to simplify your language, the kids start to speak the same language. It makes Friday night adjustments way easier. Because shit moves too fast to have a kid try to explain power. Coach, he's down blocking me. I don't know what's going on. So anyway, we can talk about that later. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Hope you guys got a little something out of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you did because you got a bunch of compliments. So
appreciate it, guys.
Which I know you, and that don't come easy.
Yeah. No, I hate compliments.
All right. Ow. Sorry, guys. I just stubbed my toe out loud. Okay. So go ahead. We're going to take a couple minutes, and then we got Dwayne. So Becky, tell me that was the right way to say it, sir.
You got it.
Nice. Cool. I'm actually looking forward to this one. He's going to talk about how he scouts high school athletes, and I looked at his PowerPoint earlier, and he dives into some cool stuff. So take a few minutes, go get some water, something to drink, use the restroom, do whatever. We'll start back at 4:45, or I should just say 45 on the hour, my time out here in the Pacific Coast. So cool.